All right, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to Sales Navigator. So this is LinkedIn Sales Navigator, first steps to big results, connect, engage, and convert. So welcome if this is your first flash class with us. If not, welcome back. And usually what we do is we cover as much as we can, and then we hang around for questions at the end, and really want to make sure you get as much out of this as possible. So for those of you that are new, my name is Dean DeLisle, founder and CEO of Forward Progress and the creator of Social Jack. Many of you have taken classes with us. We have all kinds of influencer and digital thought leadership classes in there and which contains social selling. If you've taken any of those programs, you've probably logged in or you've downloaded materials from there, and it's just found at socialjack.com. So there's free materials, and then there's a subscription you can attach to get discounts to other trainings, and then also get advanced access to materials. And then for as little as $20 a month, you also get access to the coaching platform where you can get support. We specialize in influencer marketing, so B2B. So that means if you're looking to make an impact, you want to be known for thought leadership, or you just want to convert more out of your network through social selling. And that includes storytelling, personal branding. We help a lot of people build profiles, not just on LinkedIn, but for your whole digital presence. And some of you need to have influence around events. So we do a lot of support a lot of events out there with our event influencer packages and things like that. So all good stuff. So, and those of you that haven't tuned in, we do have a podcast called The Influence Factory. It can be downloaded on all your major platforms. And we encourage you to jump on there and get inspired by a lot of the interviews that we've had. We've had market leaders, business leaders, and you might even want to be a guest someday. So just let us know that. Okay, so we are on the GoToWebinar platform. I noticed some of you have the new platform running, some of you have the legacy platform running. With that being said, you always have the option to switch between computer audio and phone. So why would you do that? Well, sometimes Wi-Fi isn't always cooperating, and to push voice and images through at the same time sometimes can compromise how you're hearing things. So so you're allowed to switch. It'll give you a number, usually a local number to you, or at least a favorable number to you, and an access code, and you simply type in and get there. You can also download a mobile app for GoToWebinar to access all of these classes. So again, I want to welcome everybody. You'll notice there's a questions area, questions box. So please, if you could type in now, where are you checking in from today? What part of the country or world are you checking in from today? And we'll shout some of these out as you type them in, and this way we'll know you got to the questions area. So Robert's checking in from Michigan. Nick's from frigid Chicago along with us. Tara is Milwaukee. We have Madison. Oh, Tara's Madison. Madison, I'm going to be up there, Tara, in a few weeks. We have Salt Lake City. Welcome. Elmhurst, Atlanta, Houston. Send us some warm weather, please, those folks in the South. Let's see. We have Virginia checking in. We have Canada checking in. We have Mexico. I'm sure it's warm down there. Welcome. We have some folks over the pond in the UK, so welcome everybody. All right, so New York, I was wondering where our New York folks were at, and Florida. So welcome everybody that's checking in today, and good to have you with us. Now that's where you will want to ask questions throughout, and we will be tracking those questions to make sure we get to them all. So if we don't get you in flow, we will get you at least at the end. So again, welcome. Many of you know I have the book first out on Amazon. So it's about building your digital business influence. So if you've ever taken a class with us, or if you've ever been through our process, I've written an actual book about that, where you can actually, I know we have a lot of book readers out there, and you can actually follow the process and the stories behind the process as well, and then some inspirational stories of people that have built significant business influence from the process. So the easiest thing to do is to type my name into Amazon, and you can get the book. All right, so a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference between Forward Progress and Social Jack? So Forward Progress is digital business influence services. So if you think about an agency, we focus on B2B influence. So whether it's you or you want your brand to be known or found, and that might look like being at the first of the top of Google. That might look like websites, social media, press releases, things like that, advertising campaigns. So that's what Forward Progress does. And anything that's going to help your business or you or your brand. Hey, John, welcome from California. You know, help you build your influence. And so we'll talk a little bit about how that handshakes with sales as well. Social Jack is digital business influence education. So that means those of you that want to learn like you are right now, maybe you're more driven to coaching and training, and you want to learn on your own time, you want to learn on demand, and we give you a platform to be able to do so. So the same things that we do for companies, we actually teach you how to do. So even if you want coaching in the marketing realm, we can also help you with that. And we have small coaching packages for those of you on tight budgets. But the idea is to not be alone in this journey and to be with a good partner that's going to help get you there. It's our mission to help you be found, be known, and be first as an influencer in your network. So we all want to be the first one that people think about for every single proposal for referrals. You want to be top of mind, and that's why we're doing this. That's why we do a lot of the digital marketing. And it used to be back in the day that we would mail out postcards. Some of us still do. Billboards, park benches, the top of, maybe we wrap around our name around a bus, radio. I've done a lot of radio, television commercials, and now there's streaming commercials, we know from YouTube and the other places. So whatever that looks like, you want to make sure that while you're doing that, you're building relationships. Now more than ever in today's world, one of the most important things is there's a lot of people. There's a lot of noise. LinkedIn is at a record rate of people. So just like a crowded event, how do you determine who to talk to? How do you determine which ones to build relationships with? You necessarily can't have them all unless your brand has a big budget. So we don't want you to think about the fact that you have to connect to all 600,000 people or all 25,000 decision makers. You just need to pick the ones that are going to give you the best referral or drive business in the door. And or drive referrals in the door. So we'll always focus on those relationships first. Does this make sense to everybody so far? Just give me a little bit of a yes so I know you're with me on that. Here's some of the team members. So just wanted to make sure you knew who sometimes when you deal with us, who's behind the scenes on this. So just wanted to give you a snapshot into who we have on board. And then some of our numbers, we always show you stats and numbers, but I think it's important to know that, we've been around for 15 years and we can help support you in terms of all of those digital programs, those launch programs, anything like that, new product releases, you name it. So if you ever have questions about that, just ask. All right, so first and foremost, somebody asked me earlier, so I thought this was timely, about what is social selling, because I talked about, oh, this is social selling. Really, it's no different than what we've done over the decades with building relationships. And some of us, if you have a favorite, a sales system, I'm always curious what people have been trained in. So I've been trained in Max Sachs Solution Selling and Sandler. So type in if you've been trained in a system. Consultative selling, relationship selling, those are a lot of terms that have been around for a while. But what we're looking to do is to really build relationships as part of the sales process, but then also leverage the tools that we have like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, you name it, Instagram, whatever's out there that can help us build those bridges to get to the people to actually nurture that relationship or take it to the next level. And you might have different social networks that you practice on that are either aligned or different from the brand. So you've heard us talk about employee advocacy and things like that. So those are a little bit different initiatives, but they're related. A business influencer is anybody that really convinces somebody. So in sales, we always talk about, well, who's the decision maker? Who's the influencer? Who's the coach? Who's coaching us along the way? And there's different roles that you have. Jonathan said that he's tied into Sandler and understands Sandler, so they have a lot of good processes in there. And then you identify the people that are best to connect to or best to help you move through the pipeline. And those are the influences. But we're talking about you being an influencer to the point where somebody knows that you're going to not just sell to them, but give them advice, sound business advice. And it may not always be your product or your service, although we'd like it to be, but you're going to make the right choice to give them the right things so that they can be successful. So hopefully this resonates with you. And that's what an influencer does. And so that's how you become known. And then the next level of that is really thought leadership. And sometimes you'll use thought leadership as a path to influence. And sometimes you'll be seen as a thought leader as you develop influence. So not to confuse it, but to tell you they work hand in hand. Employee advocacy are one of those things. Some of you said that you were using Elevate. And some of you are using Gaggle Amp, which we had a nice webinar on that a few weeks ago. So if you want to look at that, just go back to the socialjack.com page under events and you can rewatch that. But there's different platforms for advocacy, which is, you know, somewhat similar, but not like a social selling platform, not like Navigator, not like a CRM, but it's really designed to help you keep track and have good standardized content, but humanize that form so that we put that message out in the marketplace and we feel approachable as a brand. So usually it's a brand initiative, not an individual initiative. So usually there's pilot teams and groups and things like that. So if you have any questions about that, ask away. We do a lot of that. Okay, some quick stats to know. Focus at the one on the bottom. So sales reps using social media, Forbes reported outsell 78% of their peers. So that's social selling at the basis of it. Remember, building relationships, converting, and we know that more decision makers are online more than ever. So one of the things that came out, I republished or posted an article last week that engagement is through the roof on LinkedIn. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in detail today, but really engagement means about the fact that we're having a conversation, we're having an in-mail that actually gets responded to, and we're booking a meeting and we're getting a referral or we're getting something into our pipeline from that activity. So engagement starts at that outer layer, but we'd like to track it all the way into the inner layer. And this is where a lot of the decision makers, this is a report that IDC published, but where a lot of decision makers are now using social networks to actually influence or make those decisions. So hopefully this makes sense. Now, the thing I love is I love marketing. So I have a team that does that. And so that marketing is at that top end of the funnel. And hopefully you have somebody that's creating awareness and interest and consideration. Some of you I know might be the ones doing that. So that would be for you. But the goal here in really in sales is for us to get as close to that buying decision point as possible, or be the one that's called in when things are being considered to the evaluation point. We want to make sure that all of a sudden that we are called in for that final solution, that we don't have to sit there and spend weeks and weeks and months. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't awareness. It doesn't mean that there isn't interest in what we do. But when people are thinking about who to call, we want them to call you. And as part of this, what does that generate? Well, that generates thought leadership, right? So because you're in the mix of going digital and being in front of people, customer loyalty and retention, acquisition, and at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. It's increased revenue. So that's what we want you to think about. So think about the cool effect of that. If you're doing this just even at a little level, you get some of those other benefits. And we have some at the left there for different types of initiatives, but really it's the process that makes sense. Okay, so pay attention on your screen here. I've got a polling question coming up. So how much time do you spend on LinkedIn a week? Let's just get a poll for where everybody's at. We'll take a couple here just so we can get a measure, and I know exactly who we have in the room here live. You guys get the benefit of having me customize a little bit of this on the fly. So we have less than a few hours. It's about spread even. Nobody's hardly ever. We have 2 to 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, and more than 6 hours. So there you go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and you can see where everybody's at. So we're pretty even out here, you know, in terms of across the board. Okay, and then last but not least, do you use LinkedIn Navigator? Let's just find out who the new people are and who the existing users are. Mostly yeses. This one's split too. There you go. Okay, good. All right. All right, good stuff. All right, thanks everybody, and I'll share that. This doesn't get any closer than this, right? 50, 50, so there you go. All right, so we have some new folks with us, and then we have some existing users. All right, and please chime in, you know, if you see thing or you want to contribute to this, I'll give you a shout out on that. Okay, so we know about the benefits of social media. You've heard us talk about this before. But at the end of the day, we really want to generate new referrals. Now, when we say social media and what it is, you heard me reference LinkedIn like a big networking event. Now, some of us work events well, but at the end of the day, when there's 200 people, 400 people, it's insane to try to believe we're going to really capture all of them. Even if we get them as a list, that's marketing. But really what we want to do is walk out of there with the 5, 6, 7, 10 best relationships in the room, and that's really what we're talking about here. So as we talk about the numbers or the magnitude of how we flow through the sea of people, we want to be able to build our network one connection at a time. You know, we want to be able to build our network one relationship at a time. Now, every time we add somebody, there's really an effect that comes about, especially on LinkedIn with the level of engagement. People are logged in, they're paying attention, they're watching their notifications, they're on Navigator, although they don't know maybe what they're doing, but they're on Navigator, they're on LinkedIn, and they're pretty sure maybe what's going on or maybe not. But the goal here is to know that when you add like 300 or 400 connections, you're really getting enough people as long as you're intentional about the right people in your network. So what happened was when we all got on LinkedIn, myself included, we started connecting to everybody. It was almost like it was a gold rush, like a connection contest. So as part of this, we wanted to flip that around and say, well, what if we didn't count everyone, but just counted the people in our industry or our territory, or the people most likely to make a decision to buy our product? Well, let's take that, and now we can take those 300, 400 people, and now we have access to a network of over 6 million people, and you can see the numbers on there. Now with our model, we want to make sure that you're not just clicking everywhere. So I don't know if you remember this version of LinkedIn, but I went and I pulled this version out. Have you guys been on LinkedIn long enough to remember this version of LinkedIn? So I just want to bring back some memories here. But forever, a lot of times when we're logged in, we click on a bunch of stuff and we find a pattern of some things that work for us and some things that we explore. But there's a lot of wasted time. So what we find is that if we can take chunks of time, and this is where we get our 20 by 20 program that you might have heard about, where we take very specific things that are done in 20-minute chunks once a day. And we're going to show how this associates with Navigator. But now all of a sudden you have things that you're going to do that actually generate referrals or generate new business, generate proposals. So we want you to make sure that you are understanding that it's okay to spend, some of you are spending hours a day on LinkedIn, and that's awesome. Some of you, your job is to do outbound and mix that in. But what we want you to do is think about if you just focused in that 20-minute chunk on the right people. And so what we're going to do is skip over to Navigator and show you how to start building that list of very focused, targeted people. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Now, Real quick, we're going to get into some numbers. This is based on the download here. So how much business do you get from LinkedIn? Let's just get real here on numbers. And again, this is anonymous. I can't see who's clicking on what, but I can see as a whole what you're clicking on. So some people get a few deals a month, and a bunch of people have never gotten business from LinkedIn, and a couple people a few a year. So either I've got my top producers on who are really rocking it and they're hungry and they're in here to pick up a couple of nuggets to get a few more deals a month, I'm sure. And then some people are getting a few a year, and maybe, or maybe have never gotten, and that might just because there's just not a system for it, okay? And just so you know, you're not alone, there's the results up on the screen. Okay, so with that being said, the download that we have, and see if I can get to this calculator here. This calculator, and this is how you use it. So what's your average deal size? I'll take the first person that types that in. What's your average deal size? And I know sometimes they're all over the board, but let's just take whatever one. Okay, so $5,000. So let's say $5,000 your average deal size, and you're gonna log in 5 days a week. Now we have some, okay, let's take some of these big, I like big numbers too. We'll take 50,000, how's it? I got a lot of 80,000s and 50,000s in there. Okay, you're logging in 5 times a week. Your weekly appointment goal is maybe around 10. That could be different, right? So, and we handle this in class when we calculate this. But you look at your conversion ratio for appointments. So if I were going to bring you a referral, Jonathan, Michael, some of the people throwing bigger numbers out there, you know, what's your conversion rate? If you were going to say, I want to hit C-suite people, I need to hit CIOs or whatever it is, and I give you a CIO or I give you whoever you want, what's the likelihood that you're going to convert that person, right? So from the percentage of those appointments all the way through the close. And there's metrics in between, but let's think about the big chunks. And let's just say that maybe you have a 12-week sales cycle, or maybe it's longer. You just put that number in there, and that's how you use this. This will calculate how many new pipeline ads you should get by working the 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, right? And how many new pipeline ads you should get and how many new deals you should get. So look at the green down here. And we leave the formulas open, so you might want to modify these. We've had people really modify them a lot for themselves. But this is sort of helping you stay on target, stay on focus, so that when you're working in that specific block of time, and we're going to jump into Navigator next, and when you work in that specific chunk of time, Michael, you know how many of those $50,000, $60,000 deals are going to get into your pipeline in the pathway. Does this make sense? Again, I'm not going to teach a whole class around this today. I just wanted to give you access to the ROI calculator and see that. So give me a yes if everybody is cool on this and gets it, and if not, maybe we can stick around at the end and help you with get through some of those numbers. All right, good. Looks like everybody's in good shape so far. All right, and just ask questions if you're not. Okay, so Navigator has a home screen. So the home screen, for those of you that are familiar and those of you that are not, you know, over here on the expert side, you know, it'll show you where you're at in the mix. There's a home screen. You can get into lists that you can build. You can discover in here. There's an admin section, and then there's a search section. So the first thing I'm going to focus on is the fact that most people don't have their settings dialed in. So I'm just going to jump to a live screen here. Let's just get this up. And so if I go into settings, I just go into my settings. I just click on my picture. I click on settings here. And you'll notice that, you know, it gives you some ideas and things about how many in-mail messages you have in the hopper and how many, you know, your billing and all that. But this is the most important part down here, is in your sales preferences, do you have certain target markets? Do you have certain areas that you want to focus on? Do you have certain industries that you want to focus on? And do you have certain company sizes? Now, we run a bunch of different campaigns, but I want to be aware when I go into search or build a list that this is the baseline, okay? And then I have certain decision makers that I want to have. Now I will build custom searches, but this makes it so much easier that when you log in or you start searching, it already knows your default who you're looking for. So when I go in and I search for leads, I can know, hey, apply those sales, apply all those preferences that I have, and now all of a sudden I can just dial into my first connections, and I am at 365, and I can begin hunting quickly. So did you see how I did that? So I went from my settings screen. I set it up. Once you set it up, you can just keep it maintaining it and modifying it. So you just set up the screen here, and then when you go to search, and then we'll get into search here in a few minutes, you can actually click on search and say, I want all those normal people that I'm looking for, and now I'm going to dial in. And you can go in here and just add those sales preferences. And you know, again, you can rebuild this and you can have saved searches. So we'll cover that here in a few minutes. But the idea here is that you're very efficient because your system is pre-built with those settings. So does this make sense so far? So the idea here is that you go into Navigator and you go on to settings and you set your criteria. Now, I'm not going to get into Boolean search today or anything like that, but the super important thing about this is to make sure that you at least start with baseline settings. And the reason this is important is because in the normal LinkedIn, when you're going for a search, right? So we know we can go in here and we can search for people. Not going to go into this too deep. You can go into all filters. There's far less filters. There's not only less filters, but you can also not really flag or tag records or build effective lists. You can have a couple of saved searches, but you really can't get into size of company. You can't get into a lot of areas of titles and decision-making roles and things like that. So I think that's one of the best things about being able to come in here and do this. Now, besides that, keep in mind that at the same time, you're not just searching for leads, but you can also search for accounts. What's the difference? Well, leads are people, accounts are companies. So I might want to go in here and say, well, I want to apply search references for all the companies that I want to go after. And maybe I want to dial that in a little bit, or I want to look, you know, for certain company headcount growth. I want to look, you know, maybe, you know, are they, you know, on the Fortune list here? Maybe they're just 500. You know, and I can dial that in, and now I see I'm down to 82 companies. I can build off of relationships, and I can really build tactically. And this is more for us saying that we're going to go after named accounts. So once we start dialing this in, and we go off of our baseline, we can not only have accounts that are flagged as people, but maybe we want to go into bigger companies. So how many people, who's my large account people that are on today that are hunting into territories? Maybe they have a territory and you have like a named account list or big accounts. And that might apply to everybody, but just give me a yes in there if that's you. Okay, so a bunch of you want to hunt into bigger companies. So there's a whole strategy specifically around getting in. In fact, we have a named account appointment setting program that does just that. It says if you want to get into Adobe, or you want to get into Microsoft, or you want to get into whoever, Expedia, we're going to show you that I know you have a target person to get into, you know, that you want to get in with, but we also show you how to play what we call the over under. That means that we look at the decisions up and the decisions down under that person. So sometimes there's lateral decisions, sometimes there's decisions up, decisions down. So recently in the last 4 or 5 years, we jumped into healthcare because of GE Healthcare, and now we know how healthcare is wired inside and out for ourselves to be able to go in and get projects in healthcare. We know how the decision makers work, and every company is a little bit different. One of the things to watch out for is if you're searching is to make sure that you're searching very specifically for the titles that you need, but then understand that different companies have different titles. I've never seen anything like this where it used to be, it's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I used to sell accounting systems and ERP, and I'm like, oh, as long as I have a CFO and I get a CFO, it's awesome. Now all of a sudden I know how to get to the CFO. Well, everybody has a CFO now, but there's different CFOs for different areas of the business now too, and there's different types of CFOs. So you don't want to just rely on one person, one position, but you want to look at the areas and the supporting roles around that person, because your messages are getting delivered. People may be getting assignments to come look for somebody like you. There's all kinds of reasons, and I can't go into them based on time because I'm saying that they're telling me that I'm going to run over here a little bit. So in here, if you look at Sales Navigator, also has a coach, and a coach means that they will actually give you ideas and tips and little videos to watch. So make sure you check out the Sales Navigator coach. I think we're a better coach, but for those of you that can't afford us, then you're rock and rolling there. So all good stuff. So with that being said, make sure you use the coach, especially those of you that are super new. And or don't forget, we have very aggressive one-on-one coaching packages to fast track you. Okay, so let's get back into hunting. I love to hunt, right? So we talked about having these leads or searching for leads, and this is probably one of the coolest things, is you'll notice here that I have saved searches. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm searching for leads, and I'll just search in my sweet spot here, and I'll say that today I want to talk to my first level connections that meet this criteria. There's 365, and I'm not going to search in all markets. Let's just take out, or actually I'm headed to San Diego. That probably, well, let's just say Chicago. I have 173, and I'm going to take out VPs and seniors. So I'm gonna dial this in a little bit, and I'm down to 91. So let's say this is a good list for me. So now all of a sudden, I make sure I have my job function set. I make sure I have the size of the company, and you know what? I'm gonna weed out. I don't think I want to go too small on this. Let's say I'll dial 5,000 to 10,000. So now I'm at 43. So this is a good list for me. So I'm gonna slow down. I'm going to take my 20 minutes a day and do some very specific activities, but I want to easily be able to come back to these people. So here's one of the things. You can go in here and you can save the search. These are people I'm going to work on. So if I go in here, a saved search, oh, I've reached my limit. I'm so bad. Boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, here we go. Get rid of that. Was a test. I guess a couple of these I did for classes, so there we go. Now let's go back. I go to save my search, and I'll just say for the nav class, okay? And I would give it a name that I would understand, but here's the cool thing. You can get alerts frequently, because what happens is that people enter this criteria all the time. So Tara, let's just say you never log in again for like a week or two. Hopefully never again, but you just don't log in. But at the same time, Sophie and Todd and Michael and Don, if they're part of your network, and Jonathan, they're all adding people. So what happens is your connections are connecting with or without you. So the minute you're connected and you're more targeted, your network constantly grows. In fact, they used to give you a number and say, there's been another 2,700 people added to your network. Well, they've done one better. So let's just say that this is targeted. We know this is Chicago, and we'll just say within our target, and we'll just call it LAM, large account management. So now we go in here and we set it, and it was created on this date, and I have a saved search. Well, what's going to happen is now these alerts are going to come to me, and I can look at other saved searches. Just go here. I can go to other saved searches. Just go back. I'm going to open another screen so I don't lose this here. All right. So if I go into my saved searches, come on. I like when it, and you'll notice there's a little 99 plus up here, right? So there's a 99 plus. Do you see that? That means that 99 people, additional people, have been added to all my saved searches. So I can literally go in And you know, if I'm looking for people, let's just go into a search for leads, and I can go to my saved searches and find, you know, people within those saved searches. Now, I love saved searches. Jonathan, you might like them too. But the one thing that's a pain in the butt about saved searches is it doesn't allow us to drill down. So let's just say that I go in and I find the saved search that I want to go to, and I'll go to this one here, the one we were just at. So I'll go in here and I see that I have 43 total results. But I don't want the 43. I need to find like the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that I'm going to put on my email list or my call list. So what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll start flagging people. So you see how I'm just checking them off here? And I'll just pick and choose the people that make the most sense. Now, I can save to a list, and a list is good. We use outside systems that we export to and things like that. But maybe I just want to tag these people so that when I come back in here, I just want to work them. I just want to send messages. So I can individually tag or categorize people one at a time. See where it says add tag here? Or I can check a whole bunch of people and I can say, I want you to tag these people as hot leads or however you categorize. And so now when I come back in and I leave and I'm no longer, you know, in, and I want to come back and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go work all those hot leads, man, because I really did some good research. I used all those search filters. I got in there and I can go in here and actually now go to advanced search for leads, make sure this is turned off, go to tags, go to hot leads and search, and I'm in business. And I can go right to where I was and I can start jumping in here, messaging, or if I have a dial plan, I can bring these people up and all those people are tagged. So does everybody see how easy that was? So I didn't lose anybody on this, right? So tags are helpful for really hunting and going deep and wide. Now you can also tag accounts, which we don't have enough time to dig into, but I just want to make sure I'm not losing anybody. So what happens with saved searches is you'll notice that here, all of a sudden you have people that are new. So all of a sudden you'll say, well, I've got 2 new people here. I've got 626 new people here. I've got 1,000 new people here. I've got 8 new people here, you know, and it'll tell you when they're adding people in there. So that's good. So if you've exhausted a list, you know, or a saved search, you can do that. What I tend to do is I go right back into this saved search and I then tag new people. So every single week we go in and we tag the new people and then we have our attack plan. And then what happens is it goes into our 20-minute a day system where we're going step by step by step and very methodical things to do what? To build a relationship both with that person and in their network. So we're not just going into the person, but we're actually going into the person's network. So does this make sense to everybody? So when I'm connecting with Brian and I want to see who Brian is, I can get to Brian and actually get into his network. So give me a yes if you're okay, or ask me a question. I'll pause for a minute, let you guys respond before I get into the next piece. So remember, tags rule. Right? Tags rule so that you can mark your records and you can actually go in a little smaller level and flat, you know, and actually get a relationship with those people. Now, some of us, including some of you, actually send out a lot of messages to groups of people. That's what the saved searches as a whole are good for. That's what the lists are good for. Tagging is more for dialing in and tagging people at a very specific level. In fact, we have a tagging system with or without LinkedIn. You can do this with your CRM, where we actually help you build a scouting report in LinkedIn. And then we have you build a network. We call it a social team. It's chapter 3 of my book, but we have you build a social team. So now what happens is you're going in specifically every day, playing with those team members and pull them out. So Jonathan, if you want to call into the audio, you just click on the audio tab on the GoToWebinar taskbar and it'll give you a number. Just switch to audio and it'll give you a number to dial into. Hopefully that helps. Okay, And we are recording for you too. Okay, so now you get to the record. You can also tag here at the record side. So you see where it says enter tag. So you can go in here and tag somebody on the record side. You can get information about who they are and things. And the other thing I like is if I go to Sales Navigator here and I do look at somebody's record, I can look at highlights. So whether I'm connected to the person or not, this is one of my favorite things. I can see how active the person is on LinkedIn. How effective is it going to be for me to connect to this person? How else do I know this person? So I have introduction paths to get to this person. How many, and so they're looking at what's the introduction paths? What are the shared groups that we have in common? So it really gives you a good sort of network genealogy of how you're wired. And then you have experience and other things you can move into. So hopefully that makes sense. Jonathan, you okay on the dial-up, right? All right, good. I see you just transferred to the web too, so good stuff. Okay, so that's the whole tagging and building lists. So the idea here is to really make it methodical and make sure that the list makes sense. Now be careful because you can overbuild on lists. Okay, so that's the one thing you want to really be careful of. Now, we always say when you're going to do this, so if you've been a student of ours, we're going to hear this again, but you want to understand who the ideal target is. But most importantly, what's your goal? So some of you are appointment driven, some of you are proposal driven, and some of you are conversion driven. Now it depends how you're structured, whether you're, alone in this or whether you're an individual or whether you're on teams. So we want to make sure that you always tie to the numbers. So even though you can see how people are finding you, you can see how many people are messaging you. You can see how many people are responding to you. You can see how many people are actually appearing on your profile. It's your choice if you go to the next level and convert those to appointments. So this is why we want you to be very intentional. If you're working with us on the 20 by 20 system, we want to make sure that when you're in that block of time, you're converting. Every 5 minutes, you should be coming out with at least one appointment for every 5 minutes of activity. One for every 5 minutes of activity. That means you're either feeding the company pipeline or feeding your pipeline with that activity. Does that make sense? And that's what that calculator is designed to do, is to show you that potential. Now here's some of my good friends and clients here, and the social selling index is something you do not need Navigator to do. But if you go into the Navigator screen and you click on that little picture and you click Social Selling Index, it'll tell you exactly where you stand. Okay, it'll tell you exactly where you stand in your network and your ranking. But look at this. So the most important, and you can Google Social Selling Index and you don't have to go into Navigator to find this. Just it will try to sell you Navigator, but this part's free. This is a good scoring system. So if you're scoring yourself, establish a professional brand. This means that your profile is complete with the customer in mind. It sees that you're targeting, and it sees that you're becoming a thought leader, that you're moving toward thought leadership. You're publishing good content, people are engaging, and you're successful. Finding the right people. Are you targeted? I have a variety of people that I work with. We have a small accounts team. We work with some very successful small account companies, and then we have a large accounts team. So where we get into bigger accounts. And then I have students, so I have sort of a mix of networks. So I don't get scored as high on finding the right people. Engage with insights, constantly engaging, people engage back. You want to move this needle to the right as much as possible. And the most important thing, what did we start out with? What's your relationship score? So if you go into social selling, and this is all you do is just Google social selling index, right? So if you just Google social selling index, LinkedIn will put it right at the very top for you there. And you can get your score, so you get your free score. I'm going to send this out to everybody right now so you have the link. So watch your chat there. So, or you can Google it and then you guys actually get your actual score. Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's bring it home. Okay. So super fast, socialjack.com. You can get the recording for this. That'll be up in a couple hours. You can also subscribe as well. And then we have different course modules. So depending on what you want to learn, once you're inside there or sign up for any other program, you get access to all kinds of Navigator classes, thought leadership classes, personal branding classes for sales leaders, you name it, even Instagram classes. Facebook and all that good stuff. So sign in there. So real quick, did you also know that if you need help, we have a 90-day program. So a 90-day program for those of you that want to have someone side by side with you and help build that sales network, to help build that sales pipeline. For those 90 days, you get one-on-one coaching and you get a team to actually build your profile and everything. It's our 90-day program. Some of you just want coaching and training additionally, and some of you want, some sort of services around that. So real quick, I'm just going to launch a final poll here, and then I'm going to give you some other cool things. I know everybody likes the cool things, right? So look up on the screen, it says sales training or coaching. Some of you want some one-on-one coaching. Some of you want maybe a little bit of training, or maybe to be on the wait list for our training. Some of you need content developed. Some of you need blogs built, press releases. Some of you say, you know what, just book appointments for me. That's the appointment setting services. Some people want social media services, which is just posting on social media accounts for you. And take there. So it looks like a lot of people are interested in the 90 Days to Influence program, as well as some additional sales training and coaching. Now, we do have a class coming up. We're going to announce it tomorrow, but you guys get to hear about it today. We're going to announce it tomorrow all over the internet, and we're only going to allow 20 seats. It's our LinkedIn Navigator accelerator program. So we're going to get and do a solid 2 hours of this with you, but we're going to give you the 20 by 20 system plus the other modules that you can watch on demand and really take it to that next level. Now, normally if you come to the workshops or you come anywhere else, we're charging about $400 or $500 for this, but only for you guys. You ready for this? Only for you guys. So let's go ahead and close out this poll. Looks like a bunch of you clicked on a bunch of things, which is cool. If you go to socialjack.com/fast, F-A-S-T. So for $197, and the first 5 people that sign up for this, I'm going to give you one-on-one coaching with me. So we're going to not only give you the 20 by 20 sales conversion program, but we're going to give you the Navigator Fast Track course, which technically the class will be, let's see, we actually have the live class. Let's see, what is the date on that? Let's get that up. February 25th, which will also be recorded. But if you get the one-on-one coaching with me, the first 5 people get that. But Jackson's putting the link in there right now to everybody. But if you get the, if you actually go to that URL, SocialJack Fast, right? Socialjack.com/fast. Not only do you get the class here, whoops, let's get that. I thought I was on the page, but you just click on the checkout button there, and we've already put the discount in there for you, so you're not paying the full price. But you get these sessions that are on demand, right? So you get all these classes that are on demand that take you through. Some of you need help with your basics, like your profile setup. It'll give you the most recent tips and tricks around that. Some of you want the conversion techniques, but here, when we get into the LinkedIn Navigator 20 by 20, we're going to take you day by day, step by step, and we're going to take you from Navigator back to premium, or back to regular, from Navigator back to regular, and we're going to show you how the two handshake together. This is where everybody falls apart. They spend a bunch of time in Navigator and they produce a bunch of lists, and then they wind up calling. Doesn't mean it doesn't work, it just means it takes a lot of time. Some people spend a lot of time in LinkedIn and they don't get the full benefit of everything LinkedIn Basic has to cover. So in reality, you could take session 1 and session 2 on this and still get every single thing you need to convert. However, this live class and the live coaching session, you're going to get every single thing that you need plus the Navigator conversion piece. So does that make sense to everybody? And again, you just go to socialjack.com/fast. So we'll also email that out, but the first 5 people, because this hasn't been released, this is the first time it's being released, Thursday, February 6th at 1:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will absolutely make sure the first 5 people that sign up get a coaching session personally with me. So, which is normally $300. So it pays for itself right there alone. So $197 for this entire package, and it's a pretty good deal. So any questions? Yes, if you can't make the live class yet, you get access. Oh, and how long do you get access for? So you get access to not only that class, but you get coaching support online on the platform for 90 days, 90. So for 90 days, you get coaching support. You could go in there and ask a question a day if you wanted to. How about that? So then you not only get access to the classes, but you get access to the coaching platform. So make sure you take advantage of that. Okay, so let's wrap up with some assignments. Any questions on that? Oh, yeah, so the price will be good, but we're only allowing 20 people in the 20 by 20 program. So that's all we're allowing in the program. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, because otherwise we can't tend to everybody. We really spend a lot of time. We give you a profile review. We score your profiles. We really help give you that next level of service. It's not just training and coaching, but it's really making sure you get out of the gate, get on the right track for 197. It's pretty good. Okay, so make sure you fix your profiles. This is one thing we didn't spend a lot of time on, but this is the #1 epidemic. We can show you how to drive people to your inbox, how to drive people to your profile, we can show you how to convert. But if that profile is not done and optimized, people get confused. And we find out right now that people have an 85% plus bounce rate. What does that mean? That means when they get to your profile, they leave. They get to your profile, they leave. Why is that? I got this great profile view. Why didn't the person talk to me? Why didn't they pick up my call? You didn't look relevant to them. So what we want to do is make sure you look relevant. So in the class that we just talked about, you'll be able to get that, right? socialjack.com/fast. You'll be able to get that because the class is in there to show you how to do that. Or as soon as you sign up, you will get offered a profile review, which will show you what to fix to be relevant. And then the most important thing is to really be social connected and social selling. Make sure you go for the conversion, right? So don't just log in and click around like I showed on that old version of LinkedIn. Make sure that you're actually working to convert, to move it to that next level. And then make sure that you flip it around, right? So make sure that you're building a relationship, not just converting the person to a meeting. So we'll give you all those detailed tricks in the class. So with that being said, did everybody learn at least one new thing? So take the takeaway. What is the big takeaway for you today? So I always like to know one thing that you're going to do differently based on things that you heard. And I know somebody said, I'm taking a bunch of notes. Are you recording? Yes, we recorded for you. So let's see who's got, okay, so one big takeaway is to make sure that I watch my time and I'm intentional about conversion. I like that. Somebody said they're signing up for the class. That's a good one thing. Yes, fix my profile so it's more relevant. Good call. Update my search criteria. Good call, Michael. That's one of the big ones. That saves a ton of time. And you know what? Keep an eye on it too, because you want to update it or modify it. So if your search criteria changes, make sure that you update that. It's just a huge time saver. Make sure that you check your saved searches. Good. Yes, look further into tags. The big thing with tags is to make sure that you tie tags to the outcome. So I didn't get to dig into that super long, Doug, but when you're building those tags, or hit us up with questions on that, because tags is a super big strategy where literally you want to make sure that when you're building those, that they're tied to the appointments, tied to the referrals, whatever the stream is. You notice that in mine, I had very specific people's names in there. So one of the things we show you how to do is when you're building that social team is to make sure that you have an intent to feed that network, not just take from the network. So sometimes we'll have feed tags where we actually put things into that network to help people, and we'll build tags for that. And then we'll use tags for pulling things out like referrals or appointments. Does that make sense? Good. What else? Any other big takeaways? All right, well, we'll follow up with you on the people that wanted training and the people that wanted content development, appointment setting services. That is rocking right now, so we have an excellent program. We can also use that same program to fill events. Usually depends on the network and the structure of the company, but you know, mastermind events and roundtables are really popular now, but we use that same process with LinkedIn, emailing, and engaging and content to get high quality people to come and sit around a table with us and talk. So if you're interested with that, you know, about that, just hit me up with email and we'll help you out there. And a bunch of you wanted the 90-day program, so we'll follow up with that. So Morgan's going to contact you, and I'm going to talk to as many of you one-on-one personally as I can, just to help you get through things or answer questions or get to the next level. All right, any other questions? Going once, going twice. Appreciate all of you and the time that you spent and for staying on with us for this hour. And we'll get you a copy of the recording and some follow-up items. And please, you can't ask enough questions. Do not be alone on this journey. We're here to help you. And I'll look forward to our conversations one-on-one with those of you that requested. So take care, everybody, and we will see you online, converting and generating new business out of those relationships. Thank you and have a good day.